Laguinhos são japoneses passam bem alimentos, tem uma situação que estão very literal always out to group flag.
Hier in de is corpus van de men. Dat heeft die hoofd tegen brengen.
Heel vrije kus te maken.
So, this was in Dutch, obviously, but we will explain a bit in English. What we did here was actually a project from the St. Lucas. It was kind of an open invitation to apply for your own, to propose your own artistic project to make a business plan. So there were students from the Direction of Cultural Management that had to have concrete case studies for which they could make business plans. So we proposed Sorry to make a business, to them as an artistic practice to make a business plan for. And this, what you were seeing, was their presentation. But actually what we did then was, again, like what we did in AIR as well, kind of shifting in the process itself to, okay, maybe this is not a serious quest of creating a business plan for Sorry, but maybe this is it's a work, an artistic work. And that's why we then didn't show up.
Also because we already had very terrible feelings about the
Yeah.
entire plan from the very beginning, like making a business plan for an artistic collective, and also the idea of how the belly should function is quite contradictory to how we work and how we function as a group of artists.
Yes. So it was really about being defined and being understood, and also what they would do if we weren't there to.
Yeah, so for us
Listen
it
to
was
their
also a very
explanation.
interesting experiment to see how a group of cultural management students would read how we present ourselves, because of course we had a lot of interviews and everything with them as well. So I think we will skip the books
Yeah.
and go to the timeline, the spy.
Yeah.
Because we were undercover. We were invited for the first time to give the pitch talk. Yeah.
That's also the pitch talk. I mean, the pitch talk, we don't have really to show the movie, I think, but it was at the Antwerp Art Convention, which was, it's an event that's also hosted like once a year, I think, where all artistic, organizations, sorry, present their plans, but also their way of working. And we as Sorry were for the first time invited to present something about our organization. And then we were asking ourselves questions, because it was the first time that we got invited, and we thought like, okay, but if they want us, what do they want from us?
Because it was clear that they wanted to have us to cast a stir a little bit, like to
kind of shake things up.
Yeah. And then it comes down to like, okay, if people, like, we do this because we are not invited, but if they invite us to do this kind of things, how do we react to this?
Yeah.
And that's the dance question. Okay.
Yeah. So then we go on to try the seminar,
Yes.
which I think, or we go, yeah.
Maybe start first.
Yeah.
Try summer was about. So this summer we applied for funding, and it was the first time we also really got funding. for a summer program. We called it the Trojan Summer. And it was a summer programmation in which the belly was a center, let's say.
Yeah.
And let's maybe just explain the Surrey plan, Surrey Square. It's one of the events we organized. It's the inauguration, the unofficial inauguration of the Surrey Square. The belly has a small square in front of the space, which is built recently, and it still didn't have any name, so we decided let's call it the Surrey
Yeah,
Square.
since we got funding, so we were kind of feeling legitimized to call it the Surrey Square. Yeah. So that's what we did.
And we had speeches, champagne,
Yeah.
a toast to summer.
Yes.
The Trojan horse.
Because actually we called our file Bij IJs en IJs. So it had another name when we got the funding. So we wrote a file about the belly being the core of our artistic practice, and also the belly being an ice cream parlor where we would sell ice during the whole summer. But then we found out that there was already an ice cream parlor around our corner, which opened at the same year. So we didn't have any choice then to do something else. So then our whole subsidy application didn't really match with what we were actually doing, so it became a Trojan horse in itself. So that's why we called it the Trojan Summer.
It was a Trojan horse for let's say the city, but also for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not
But we nevertheless got funding. Yeah.
inauguration, appropriation of place, dialogue, fiction and cults. If enough people believe the story, it's true. And then chaos yoga.
Yeah, this is the last work that we will present to you. And I think it's also the most, like with a detour, we kind of then come back to artistic practice, I think, in a much more like classical way even for us. Because Chaos Yoga was organized within the Trojan Summer, so we could finally pay the people that we were collaborating with. And we could really invite artists that we found really interesting, that they made interesting work. So we could organize a bike tour through the port of Antwerp. And we presented these terms, well, for us it was one term, Chaos Yoga, as a term for them to create a work around. But it was also something that was kind of an open invitation, so they could find out for themselves what it meant and also create.
So in a sense, it was the first time that we did this kind of curatorial thing, but it was also a way to tell a story or to bring this bigger project in a different way. So we did this bike tour through the port of Antwerp, where the different performances or works took place in the public space or the gray zones of what is called public space of the port of Antwerp.
Yeah, because a lot of this so-called public space was privatized, of course, by the companies that are using the harbor. But I think
officially, it's
public. Yeah.
This is a tour.
Yeah, that's the route that we took.
Some of the performances. And everything was also mobile, so that was also part of the concept. So we had a mobile DJ bike, we had mobile bar,
Mobile beamer bike.
so we could...
Everything was running on car accus, or no, how do you say this? Batteries. Yeah. And also for us, kind of this chaos yoga term really related to the harbor in the sense that, well, I mean, you could say it, that chaos yoga means like this relation between balance and order, and then balance yoga being something that can be practiced. And for us, this space in the harbor also reminded us a lot about this balance-misbalance question, because at some point you could say that this harbor is a very organized organism or structure where a lot of oil refineries are, and a lot of trade is happening, a lot of ships are coming in, and everything, but at the same time it's a very disorderly place in a sense that it really, it looks very apocalyptic also when you are there. So it's a very strange, I mean, I don't know if one of you has been in the harbor of Antwerp, but it's a very strange atmosphere to cycle around. And especially when you're cycling, you feel incredibly small against all these very big structures. So it was also a challenge for these artists to kind of deal with these circumstances. So to deal with this mobility, to deal with this team, but also to deal with their well, lack of impacts, maybe, like compared to the landscape, and how to then create something that actually brings, or that is visible even, or it has a certain impact or something.
Thinking about site specifically.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the last thing that we're going to say. Don't ask, I mean, if you want to do something like this, don't
Good
ask
advice.
too much permission.
Because then it will not be allowed. Just do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Alicia and Katinka, to elaborate on the excuses you found to base your practice on. And I'm sure many more excuses will follow. But I would like to ask you if there are any questions. Right.
Is there a current project you're working on now? Is there something going on? Or
I think, yeah, I think many things are going on right now, but one of the things maybe is also like really finding what we will do with the belly as a space, because right now it's maybe empty. Like we have certain projects, we have a cooking collective, but like how to continue with this place.
Yeah, and also, I mean, and that's, I think, we're kind of redefining also how we can use story as a structure as well. So, what, how do you call it, like, how collective practice is, in a sense, because Alicia and me are working on a project now, which is a wellness center, which we will also maybe present in the belly in a later stage, but which is also under the name of Story. So it's something, but that is really something that the two of us are now developing in a way, but if we're executing it, there might be other people involved again.
Yeah, how much is, like, is it a collective, an artistic collective? Do you have one message, or is it also possible to use Story as a production house? Or,
Yeah.
as an official structure? I mean, we did everything like in the past, but like how will we continue?
Any more questions? Well, that's a typically Flemish audience, I guess. Well, if there are no more questions, I would once again like to thank you for showing up, and even more, once again, thank you to Sorry Collective for this really inspiring and invigorating presentation. Thank you.
If you are interested, we we made some small presentations of the props or artifacts or
It's not
publications.
merchandise.
No, it's just what we did in the past. So just, yeah. If you're interested,
Dear future generations, I think I speak for the rest of us when I say, sorry we left you with our mess of a planet. Sorry that we were too caught up in our own doing to do something. Sorry we listened to people who made excuses to do nothing. I hope you forgive us. We just didn't realize how special the earth was, like a marriage gone wrong. We didn't know what we had until it was
Not so much.
For example, I'm guessing you probably know it as the Amazon desert, right? Well, believe it or not, it was once called the Amazon rainforest, and there were billions of trees there, all of them gorgeous, and you don't know much about trees, do you? Well, let me tell you, trees are amazing. I mean, we literally breathe the air they are creating. They clean up our pollution, our carbon. They store and purify water, give us medicine, they cure